utilities to find out file types. So there is a simple Unix command which comes with Unix installation called find, which will do exactly that. We will talk about this. Find and file are things that can be used for this. Then I said something about deleted files also. I have deleted my files, so I assume that they are safe. Right? By default, at least in the Windows-based systems, we assume that it's going to the recycle bin. You can always retrieve things from the recycle bin. We might have done this also. Right? I deleted something by mistake, so I retrieved it. Right? So I could always use that. If you are not careful, you delete it. I go and undo it. Right? You put it in the recycle bin, I undo it. So that's a simple thing. So if you want to delete without leaving something in the recycle bin, you also know how to do it. Right? Use shift delete instead of delete. Right? So that it's not in the recycle bin also. But even after you do shift delete, these files can still remain in the hard disk. So usually what happens is the link to the file is removed and not the file itself. So the file is written as zeros and ones on your hard disk. The zeros and ones are never erased when you do shift delete. Most likely these things are left as they are. So anyone who comes and reads the hard disk later can get the sequence of zeros and ones and even reconstruct your files. So has anyone ever lost an operating system? Like an operating system crashed and thereby you lost access to files? Okay, what did you do? Did you try and retrieve the system? You did. Right? So there are plenty of tools which can actually try and retrieve the important files. It may not actually retrieve your installation completely, but at least retrieve all your pictures, various homeworks that you wrote, various documents that you downloaded and so on. Right? At least I say pictures. Pictures is something that's so dear to us. Right? So we take so many pictures and it's so dear to us. We don't want to lose the pictures even if you lose homeworks or exams or such things. Right? Right? You can always get your homeworks from friends that you originally took from. Right? Not pictures though. So we need to take care of various things. But whenever there is something on the hard disk, the links may be removed but not the actual contents. So what you see there is actually a picture which shows various kinds of files that were retrieved from hard disk that were supposedly thrown away. Right? So what you see is about 200 computers. They were given away for charity, for sale, for whatever reasons. And out of them, 130 were used in 2005. And I don't know if you can read things in the table below. What you see as pictures is, in 2004, a total of 590,000 files could be retrieved from hard disks that were disposed. Out of them, 149,000 were zip files, 141,000 were JPEGs, 78,000 HTMLs, 14,000 Word documents, about 4,000 Excel documents, and about 1,500 emails. This was in 2004. And in 2005, the count is exponentially increasing. So you have about 3 million as opposed to 519,000. So it's about 7-8-fold increase. And all of them have such increases. So these are computers that were retrieved from junkyards, so-called junkyards. And one thing if you notice is the scale on the y-axis is actually an exponential scale. So it goes 1, 10, 100,000, 10,000 and so on. It's exponential in scale. So don't be fooled by things being very close to each other. They're actually exponentially separated in terms of the numbers. Right? So this is something that's retrieved from 200 computers. And many of us, when we dispose computers, we don't really care about how the computers are disposed. Right? So let's say a person here had a computer crash, and if you decide to sell it, you probably never retrieve it, do a clean installation and then sell it. Most often we are also lazy. We say, hey, anyway I am done with this computer, it's an old one, I just want to dispose it, let somebody buy it. Right? So this is something that you have to pay attention to. There are files in the system that you may not know how to retrieve, but I may know how to retrieve, or somebody else may know how to retrieve even if I don't know how to do it. Right? So you have to pay attention to these things. Again, as students, or somebody who don't have a lot of sensitive information around, it may not matter to you. But imagine your college administration, right? They have all your grades, your exam details and so on. That is sensitive data. They can't afford to do that, right? Similarly, all the government bodies. We pay taxes, we have our vehicle numbers stored in various computers in the government. What if the government decides to sell computers? Right? So one day you will see on eBay your information being sold. Right? Your hard disk, the hard disk with the information about you is being sold. You don't even know about it. And you know only when something really serious happens. Somebody stole your credit card information, bought something, or something. Right? So general suggestions are that you don't delete data, but you wipe data. So there are plenty of tools again to do these things. So go and search on data wipe. You'll get plenty of tools. So good place to download various things is CNET. CNET. You download software from there. They also give you various kinds of useless ratings. One. Two, more importantly, it gives you whether CNET has found any malware in the software or not. So you go and look at something and they have certification that there is no anti-spyware, there is no spyware, malware or any of these things in some piece of software. You download a file. So Balaji later will show some of these things also. Right? So, but binding data is something that you should do. What it really does is, it actually writes a random sequence of zeros and ones on the file itself. Let's say a file was stored in specific sectors in my hard disk. It will take those sectors and write a random set of zeros and ones there. So even if the link to the file is removed, if the contents are left out, you could read them. Instead, write zeros and ones, random patterns of zeros and ones. Right? So this is at least first level of security. There are tools which can do that. You don't have to write a program where you do this at all. You can get tools to do these things. The only thing is sometimes how trustworthy are the tools. Right? You didn't write the tools, you don't know what it's doing in the backend. Right? What if I copy a bunch of things and then I buy it? I send it to myself. Right? You give me a hard disk for me to buy it. And I copy the files and then buy it for you as a tool. Right? You could do that. So you have to be a bit careful about how these things are done. And in general, there is another thing also. So let's say I give you, I have a hard disk which is byte once. So at least software-wise, the hard disk controller cannot read. So you read a random patterns of zeros and ones, and that way a file which is deleted could be safe. But the key thing is, the magnetic memory also has some other memory which we generally don't discuss. The material has some kind of memory. The material with which the hard disks are made has some kind of memory. You can guess with a fairly accurate probability whether the zero that you see now was a zero before that or not, and the one that you see on bit was a one before or not. So of course, you cannot do that with software anymore. So you need more sophisticated electronic equipment. And you can guess what was the previous bit that was written on it. And let's say I get the previous bits that are written on it, then I can get your file. Right? I overwrote the file with the random patterns of zeros and ones, but I can guess what the previous bits were. I can retrieve a file. So many times, what we do is we try and do many cycles of the file. Right? So DoD, the Department of Defense in the US, recommends 7 cycles of file. Do it 7 times. And the other thing is, you start encrypting data right from the start. So you don't do encryption post facto, you do encryption right from the creation of the file, saving the file, getting the file back and so on. So people have been looking at encrypting file systems. How to have file systems that are encrypted so that every reader write access to the file is encrypted. So I have a student with me who is working on exactly that. At what level can you place encryption so that the users won't feel the pinch of encryption? So I don't want, let's say I type one word and I want to save it, it's taking a few minutes to save because it's doing encryption. I don't want that. At the same time, it should not be too simple that I can read off a hard disk. I can't do encryptions only at the top level and leave the bottom levels exposed and so on. So deciding on where to do the encryption and what level of encryption should be done is an engineering challenge. So one of my MTech students, I'm a 4-grade for one student and he's doing exactly this. Then many times if the data is really sensitive, you need to destroy the disk. So if you don't want the disk, if you don't want the data on the disk to be seen anywhere at all, then destroy the disk, incinerate it, burn it, throw a hammer at it, break it, burn it. And this is exactly what all sensitive information in governments, right? That's exactly what they do. They don't leave the hard disk for somebody else to use. So what if I have something on the space program, right? Something about defense, something about troop movement and so on. I don't want the data ever to get out, right? Even things like exam papers that are sent, you may want a mechanism like this, where it's wiped and the hard disk destroyed. Right? It's not enough to just go and install a different operating system on it and format and install a different operating system. You may want something more calculated on that.